leading our country into the new horizon. Let me also say that those we have been elected on both sides of the divide, together we must shepherd this country into a safe and prosperous future. I want to state that I will work with all the leaders who have been elected in all formations for the good and for the prosperity of our country. I am tremendously privileged to join you and our visitors today as we commemorate the 59th anniversary of MASHUJAA Day. It is with great humility that I preside over this year's celebration for the first time as president, and I am humbled and grateful for the honor to be your leader. We solemnly observe this important day every year in order for us to reflect upon where we have come from as a nation. We mark this day to consider the troubled road we trod through, the sorrowful wilderness of cruel colonial injustice, and the price that we paid in blood, toil, anguish, and death for us to be a free people. We take this opportunity to also celebrate the histories of our heroes and heroines who sacrificed valiantly in our freedom struggle, their character, and most particularly and importantly, the values and principles which inspired, sustained, and vindicated them so that we may emulate them by leading lives worthy of their sacrifice. We also ask ourselves today, what must we do to transmit this noble history and ensure that future generations appreciate us, not only as worthy heirs of our illustrious ancestors, but also as skillful stewards of their heritage. We do this in pursuit of a solemn covenant proclaimed in the preamble of our Constitution, and I quote, that we, the people of Kenya, shall honor those who heroically struggled to bring freedom and justice to our land by adopting, enacting, and giving the Constitution to ourselves and to our future generations, end of quote. Our Constitution articulates a vision of Kenya our heroes and heroines would have approved, a Kenya worth fighting for and worth paying the ultimate price for. It is their legacy to us, and it sets the stage for us to continue their patriotic work in that noble spirit that roused the first freedom fighters to resist colonial rule and their successors to reject post-colonial repression. Our heroes and heroines were neither elected nor appointed. They were not sponsored and they were not funded. They had no offices or budgets. They were ordinary people invested in the struggle to make good their unwavering belief that all people are equal and all deserve to live in freedom. People of all walks of life, subsistence farmers and traders, clerks and former soldiers, teachers and their learners, preachers and their congregations, drivers, cooks, and farm workers ran away to the forest, armed with nothing but the conviction that a more just way of life is possible and that it is worth fighting for. The legacy of independence is the heroic achievement of value-driven, bottom-up heroism. The people were distinguished by their unity and commitment to selfless endeavor, determination, patriotism, and an unyielding sense of justice. Every time we have come together, we have accomplished major feats. That is why, as a nation, we are exhausted by the national anthem. And I quote, "Let one and all arise with hearts both strong and true." End of quote. Our Constitution, the People's Sovereign Charter, is an instrument of collective memory. It proscribes tyranny, marginalization, and oppression, provides institutional means to dismantle injustice and eradicate inequality, and gives us an opportunity to expand freedom and actualize rights. It also defines human well-being to be the reason for individual and collective action, as well as objects of the totality of our national enterprise. We are united in common endeavor with those who came before us and did so much for our country. We may define ourselves as a nation proudly standing on the foundation of the Constitution, united in pursuit of the well-being of every citizen. The principal reason for promulgating our Constitution then was to inscribe the values which animated our history of accomplishments and to project them in a manner that resonates across generations. The national values and principles of governance set out in Article 10 form the soul of this dispensation. They define the parameters of patriotism, exemplary service, selfless sacrifice, and profiles us in terms of who we are and who we ought to be individually and as a nation. We can and we must employ these values as beacons for identifying people whose contribution honor the memory of our heroes and heroines and bring greatness to our nation. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to direct our focus on the work that each one of us does to understand how we contribute to our individual well-being, as well as that of our communities and our nation. It is this understanding we must take into account that individuals make up the greater national family, and that Kenya's stature and splendor is always greater than the sum total of our individual efforts or community endeavors. Similarly, our national capacity determines the extent of opportunities all Kenyans have to pursue and attain their aspirations. What I'm saying is that regardless of the type and scale of your pursuit, every contribution matters. And regardless of our ways, of our walk of life, our work matters, our intentions matter, our thoughts matter, because we all matter and every hustle matters. I congratulate in unison to remain peaceful, united, and compassionate. We set a new standard for ourselves: issue-based campaigns, transparent elections, and a peaceful outcome. I salute all Kenyans who set out every day, everywhere, doing ordinary things in inspired and extraordinary ways to fend for themselves and their families, thereby keeping our country going. I commend those whose work involves service to others. I celebrate those who volunteer and give, expecting nothing in return. Yet, they serve selflessly. From the farmers who feed our nation to the drivers who connect all parts of our country by conveying people and goods, educators who impart knowledge to our infants in kindergartens, children in schools, and youth in tertiary institutions, medical staff in wards and in fields and training institutions, workers in quarries and construction sites, artisans on the side streets, in their small sheds and in large workshops, traders on the side streets in rural and urban markets, and all the way to the Nairobi Security Exchange. Professionals who give their best in every sector of national endeavor, and our men and women in uniform, whose bravery and commitment continues to set the gold standard for sterling devotion to our flag. This national salutes your service. This nation salutes your service and celebrates your contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the contribution of Kenyans elsewhere, our country continues to make great strides towards socio-economic transformation, shared prosperity, and enhanced well-being for our nation. In the East and Horn of Africa, the larger Africa continent, and globally, this nation expresses our values with greater clarity, and the state projects our aspirations more emphatically. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to lay the foundation for our future. Agriculture, as the lead sector to the economic transformation of our country, is the place to start, owing to its potential for high and quick returns on investment. But the situation in the country is wanting, and we have a severe food shortage as a result of prolonged drought in Kenya and the larger Horn of Africa region, the worst in nearly half a century, with 3 years of consecutive failed rain. Coupled with this are the extremely high global fertilizer prices. Our government's initial intervention to mitigate these challenges has been to step up food supply in northern Kenya and other regions and ensure better coordination between government and development partners. And I want to thank my deputy for being an able connector between these partners. We thank our partners for their input that has gone a long way in relieving this dire situation. World fertilizer prices have more than doubled in the past 2 years since COVID-19. The prices were passed on to farmers and the cost skyrocketed to more than 7,000 for a 50-kilogram bag. This had a huge impact on productivity of farmers last year. For example, maize production suffered a deficit of 10 million bags. Our government's first intervention to address the fertilizer challenge and make it available to counties and regions that plant in the short rains was to import 1.5 million 50-kilogram bags and distribute them at a lower price of Kenya shillings 3,500 per 50-kilogram bag. We have also made arrangements to make another 6 million bags of various types of fertilizer available for the long rain season. We have also asked county governments to work with us on the last mile delivery to centers close to farmers so that fertilizer can be easily accessible. These, however, are short-term measures, and we have to take very bold steps to end the perpetual cycle of hunger and dependency on rain-fed agriculture. We must eradicate hunger in our country in the shortest time possible. To do this, we have the following plan. We have to increase agricultural productivity as a first step. We will support all farmers to access quality inputs such as seeds, fertilizer, and pesticides, among others, and also ensure that our farmers have access to extension services in order to improve farming skills. In the short term, we will continue with the fertilizer import program. But in the medium term, the government plans to have fertilizer manufactured in partnership with EAC countries in our region. On seeds, our government will work with local research institutions and both public and private sectors to scale up seed multiplication for all crops. However, irrigation is the ultimate solution in guaranteeing food security in our country. In 2017, the government set out to build 57 dams to harness water for irrigation and domestic use. Many did not even start. Few are complete, while the rest are ongoing. The huge capital outlay required for dam construction in the context of competing budgetary priorities poses a huge challenge to this program. And to address this challenge, we are working on innovative investment mechanisms through public-private partnership to construct at least 100 dams. Consequently, it would be possible to progressively irrigate the 3 million acres already identified as irrigable land. In the next 3 years, the government plans to double the land under irrigation to 1.4 million acres. Of this, 200,000 acres will be under rice irrigation and 500,000 under other food crops. Rice production in Bunyala, the Tana Delta, Rahole in Garissa, Mwea and Ahero will take priority, as these are areas that have already mechanisms for us to upscale. Our dairy farmers struggle with the high cost of feed and challenges of storage, preservation of milk, and access to markets. To assure them that they are on our priority list, we have taken immediate steps to reinstate the stalled milk coolers program, and the distribution of 650 milk coolers will resume shortly. In our plan, we have identified dairy and livestock economy as subsectors with the quickest economic turnaround time, and we will become key drivers, and they will become key drivers in improving food security, creating jobs, and boosting our exports. We have equally committed to close the housing gap, which stands at 2 million units as at now. Our target is to increase the supply fourfold, from 50,000 units every year to 200,000 units every successive year. Already, 2,592 units have been completed, 40,000 are under construction, and over 500 units that require financial backstopping and funding for bulk infrastructure are now being worked on and are in the pipeline. I am happy to report today that the interest in the housing sector has grown immensely, and that many private investors, including pension funds, have submitted proposals on the housing projects they would like to invest in. We will work together on these projects to facilitate their realization. It is clear from engagements with investors that the government needs to evolve from being a mere enabler to becoming a sponsor of major projects. Not only will we provide land and bulk infrastructure for our housing program, but I will personally take charge of the process to unlock the challenges that inhibit investment. For instance, VAT exemption on inputs has been enacted to lower the cost of construction, but its implementation has been curtailed by delays in approving applications for VAT refunds. As a result, developers pay VAT, but the cost saving is not enjoyed by the end buyers. Government will resolve such issues with the urgency required. Ladies and gentlemen, let me emphasize that the housing agenda is not just about four walls and a roof. The demand for affordable housing is an opportunity to create jobs and stimulate the economy. Our manufacturing sector, which already supplies many products in the construction industry, will have expanded business opportunities, and other relevant sectors will also benefit from this endeavor. Other housing inputs, such as doors, windows, gates, and hinges, will be made by our Jua Kali industry. We are designing the program in a way that will upgrade and support Jua Kali by linking it to our technical and vocational institutions. In the end, we expect enterprises that produce housing products to emerge and expand, creating jobs and wealth for hustlers, making our housing plan truly transformational from bottom up. We want, ladies and gentlemen, to create the experience of hardworking Kenyans like John Ochieng, who is present here as one of my guests today. I met him 2 days ago when I handed over keys to new homeowners in Ongata Rongai, Kajiado County, under the Affordable Housing Scheme. Ochieng began working as a carpenter in that housing project when it began 2 years ago. Then, home ownership to him was a mere dream. 2 years later, he owns an apartment in the same estate he helped to build as a carpenter. Given that there are developments today that cater for housing needs for ordinary Kenyans like John, I am convinced that it is possible to provide quality, affordable housing for rent and sale, and Ochieng's story will be replicated multiple times over throughout the country. We therefore proceed with confidence that we will provide quality, climate-smart housing that Kenyans can buy with mortgages for as low as 5,000 shillings a month, to be made available through various home financing arrangements. Next week on Tuesday, I will break ground in this same constituency at the Gibera Soweto B in Nairobi for a housing project which will deliver thousands of social housing units. Going forward, we intend to collaborate with county governments to achieve a target of at least 5,000 units in every county. Counties with larger metropolitan areas have a greater opportunity and can target as many as 50,000 units, since as demand is higher due to population density in those counties. We have asked counties to identify land. We will provide infrastructure. We will put the roads. We will put the sewage system. We will connect water and electricity, and we will get developers who will develop the houses, and eventually we will get the resources for mortgage for homeowners to own units across our nation. Fellow Kenyans, access to credit is a stimulant that invigorates the economy. However, high interest rates crowd out the private sector, and especially the small and medium enterprises. Our commitment on affordable credit was at the heart of the Kenya Kwanza election campaign. Already, Expectations are very high across the country on our promise to provide a fund that will offer affordable credit to those at the bottom of the pyramid. I am aware that the most significant question in the streets today, in border parking lots and fresh produce markets, is when will the Hustler Fund become operational? I want to tell them I have an answer for you today. Even before the fund is set up, we have made several interventions to make credit accessible. Safaricom, and I want to thank them, and their financial partners have brought down the cost of Fuliza by reducing interest rates by 50%. As part of that agreement, 4 million borrowers who had been blacklisted will be freed from the yoke of Credit Reference Bureau in the coming days. We have also secured an agreement with CRBs that they will abandon the punitive penalty of blacklisting borrowers and move to a credit scoring system that makes borrowers eligible for credit even as they work to improve their credit worthiness. As a result, no citizen will be excluded from the credit system. They will therefore be eligible to access credit as they work their way into paying their loans. On the Hustler Fund, there are three crucial available under the Hustler Fund to small businesses on affordable rates being single-digit rates, to individuals through chamas, groups, circles, and cooperatives. All borrowers in this platform will not only access affordable credit, but they will also participate in short-term saving plan and long-term pension program. Every saving made by borrowers on this platform will be matched by the government of Kenya on a 2-to-1 ratio to a level to be determined by the program. And I will launch this fund credit and savings product on the 1st of December this year. Health is front and center of socio-economic development. The failure of a health system undermines prosperity. Kenyan families spend a total of 150 billion in out-of-pocket expenditure on health services a year, mobilized from various sources including Harambes, WhatsApp and M-Pesa groups, loans, sale of land and other assets to pay hospital bills for loved ones. Also, many small businesses fail when owners fall ill and cannot work, or divert money to pay medical expenses. It is no wonder, then, that it is commonly said that most families and individuals in Kenya are one illness away from poverty. 1 million Kenyans sink into poverty every year because of medical expenses. We want to lift, and we must, this punitive burden from the shoulders of Kenyans and their businesses through our universal healthcare plan. The plan is to revitalize primary healthcare by laying more emphasis on preventive and promotive strategies. Many critical health illnesses, including cancer, heart complications, kidney failure, and hypertension, can be detected and addressed at this level without the need for hospital visit or admission. Our health reform commitment is therefore threefold. In partnership with county governments, we will mainstream community health workers and make them the foundation of our health system. Reforming the National Health Insurance Fund is a necessary imperative. Progress has been made in enrolling more members, and in the last 10 years, 12 million Kenyans have joined the fund. The challenge, however, is that the NHIF is an occupational scheme that is tailored for salaried people on payroll in public and private sector, and not the social insurance scheme it ought to be. We shall change the contribution structure from an individual contributory scheme to a household contributory model. We intend to address the challenges of inadequate human resources in our public hospitals and the poor industrial relations between health professionals and our county governments. We are particularly committed to the professional development of our health workers, and I take the opportunity to assure our health workers across the board that we listen to them and we will propose ways in collaboration with county governments of resolving all outstanding issues. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is a strong leader in the information and communication, including technology space. We are the proud regional and continental hub of innovation. We have the appropriate policy framework, constitutionally protected freedom, media, information, and communication to dominate the creative art and entertainment arena. Our young people have consistently shown robust interest in this field and are engaged on various platforms, generating captivating content that is appreciated globally and regionally. There is tremendous potential for our country to become a global leader, employ hundreds of thousands of young people, and generate immense wealth if we facilitate the young people to plug into the global digital economy. To achieve these purposes, the government is committed to invest in the digital superhighway and the creative economy, which will be enablers of transformation, productivity, and overall competitiveness. Over the next 5 years, the government will ensure universal broadband availability through the rollout of connectivity throughout the country. The laying of an additional 100,000 kilometers of national fiber optic network is expected to deliver this target, and already we are in discussion with the players in that sector. Government services shall be made available throughout the country at greater convenience to citizens through digitization and automation of all critical government processes, with a view to bringing at least 80% of government services online. Moreover, to bring more Kenyans, especially the youth, on learning, entertainment, and socialization, the government intends to take measures to bring down the cost of calls and data. This initiative converges with the efforts to boost the creative economy and scale up cultural production and the arts industry. Our government is also committed to the establishment of more art and culture infrastructure, including theaters, music auditoriums, and galleries, and extensive refurbishing of facilities to expand space for artistic and cultural expression and production. The government is also firmly committed in investing in the robust delivery of 5 pillars of our plan for socio-economic transformation. This investment is undertaken in full recognition of our national values and principles of governance, as well as broader national interests and goals. They include policy and legislative